Where have you been since '85?
Well, I did the movie with Arnold.
What's that name of that movie? Arnold.
Running Man. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Running Man.
I heard he's a fine gentleman.
Well, he's huge. And he's a nice man. I mean, I had a good, it was good fun to do.
Yeah.
Played a nice villain. But since then I got married.
Your history, because it's just too fast, the speed. But that happened a lot of times in Running Man, because being followed by those wild vehicles 6 feet behind you, I mean, there's no way this guy would be able to stop his car if I fall. You know, and things like this happen. You fall, and the guy will run right over me with this wild teeth coming out, or this motorcycle jumping over this hill. You're standing right there where it lands, and you're supposed to just, when before it lands, jump away from that mark and make it look like you almost were hit. So all those things are, you know, extremely dangerous. But
it's time to start running! Actually, it's a pretty rainy day outside, so I thought, what is a good rainy day comfort movie? The Running Man. I've been a huge Arnold fan. He has a wee little guy like this big. I mean, Predator, come on. Terminator 2, what's not to love? I am almost excited as good old Jesse here, the governor of Minnesota. Right there. Anyways, went back into my collection, put out some promotional material of the time, as well as some more recent interviews about the film, and some odds and ends that you just have to watch to find out.
In the 21st century, the condemned have a choice between hard time and prime time.
Perfect contestant. I want him.
I have 2 requests.
A guy like that, what would stop him?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
How about the light?
Richard Dawson.
Don't touch the hair.
The Running Man. Premieres Saturday, November 19th on HBO. The best movies.
Vestron muscles in on the market in May with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Patrick Swayze in a 1-2 punch of pure sales power. Then there's more muscle with box office powerhouse Arnold Schwarzenegger.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice: hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the Running Man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
The highest rated TV show in history.
Guess they want us to stay.
It's a game between life and death. Can you lift? Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Running Man. He's playing for a prize. The prize is his life.
How about the light?
The Running Man.
Now, Vestron packs a really big punch in the May Muscle 4-pack. A specially priced set of 3 Running Man and 1 Steel Dawn. It's a $40 savings at only $79.98 each in the 4-pack. Priced higher if you buy them separately. Plus, you'll get the Running Man a full 2 weeks early on May 11th versus the single copy release date of May 25th.
It's showtime.
Vestron is pumping our May Muscle with extensive consumer advertising in Rolling Stone, People, and USA Today. And we have powerful POP, including this impressive 5-foot floor display, a counter card display, theatrical posters, and more.
Well, that hit the spot.
It's all part of May Muscle. Patrick Swayze, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Vestron Video. We'll be back.
Well, Arnold, not too many weeks ago, we were sitting in Dallas talking about Predator, you remember. And here we are now talking about Running Man. And at that time, I knew Running Man was coming out. And I had seen that one little clip, but I really didn't have a full idea of what it was about. So last night, as I was sitting there watching The Running Man, and as it evolved and everything, I got to thinking, my gosh, they're going to be network presidents jumping out of their penthouse towers when they see this. Because I think a lot of people are going to see this as a diatribe against television.
Well, The Running Man was not really done for that purpose, you know, to do anything against network or make fun at them or whatever. Although a lot of it is today already a reality that you see in the film, that whole competition for ratings and all that. But it's just an idea that you say, okay, let's assume this is happening. Let's assume there's an economic disaster in a future time, let's say 2013 or 19 or whenever it happened, and the networks are competing against each other for ratings. The government is involved, and they are actually paying the networks in order to keep the people away from the streets, from rioting, and keep them glued to the TV set. And everyone is hooked together, government, network, and dictatorship, and economic disaster. And now what will happen with a game show like The Running Man, which is the most popular show, in order to create the highest rating? And so that's really what the purpose of this is. And then with that vehicle, entertain people, rather than making fun at the network or anything like that.
Here we have, though, quite a lot of devastation and violence going on. And again, people might look at it and see here the people, the runners, are criminals. In your case, you're a runner who has been falsely accused because you're the hero. But then we have these stalkers, and this is a way to get rid of criminals. And so some people are going to say, my gosh, you know, here is, you know, civil rights and civil liberties being just abandoned.
It is. In a movie, it is abandoned. That's why it's a movie and not reality. It's just a story, you know. You just never can forget that. But that's just, you know, I think it's a great concept that Stephen King came up with when he wrote his novel. And I was very happy that someone picked up on it and made it into a script and decided to do a film and put that much money behind it and really go all out and make it as good as possible. And when I read the novel, I said to myself, I hope someone is going to make a film, because I would like to play Ben Richards. And 2 years later, I heard about it, that it's going to be made a film, and I got the job. So I was really delighted over it.
Did you ever discuss it with Stephen King?
We talked about it many times. As a matter of fact, just before I started, I asked him for some advice, because I was not certain about certain points in the script, and because they were different from his book. And we talked about it, you know, how different it is to read a story or to see it on a screen, and how sometimes you have to make changes and all those things. And he's a very fascinating fellow, and I'm a big fan of his, you know. So,
funny too, isn't
he? Very funny.
I've interviewed him.
Oh,
funny man.
Very funny, and there's his great sense of humor, and loves this whole idea of shocking people with his writing, or with if they do films of his books, you know.
Again, Arnold, you're in a film here that's very physical, and again, watching the film, I kept wondering, I wonder if Arnold would really deep down like to do a quiet little film, maybe a Kramer versus Kramer, or a Terms of Endearment, or something like that, where the physicality wouldn't have to be there at all. Do you dream of doing that?
No, I never had a dream to do any of those kind of movies. I love to do the films that I do. I know that the people are entertained by those kind of films, and they enjoy seeing it, because it's just, you have to look at the box office and you know how successful those films are. So I know I'm doing something for the majority of people. I think that there are a lot of actors out there that are much more comfortable to do the Kramer versus Kramer or the Ordinary People and all those kind of films, because they look physically and facially much more convincing for those kind of parts to play an average guy off the street. I could never play that because, people know me for my heroic films, and I look much more heroic because of my physical look that I bring to the screen and all that. So I play the films that I'm most believable in and that I have the best time in and that I think everyone can enjoy.
In this movie, one of the effects that is so fantastic, and I hope, please, they give us a clip on it, the sled, or what you all refer to as the sled. Now, was that thing a practical apparatus, or was it all done with mirrors and movie magic?
Yeah, both. There was a real sled that was shot down into a tunnel, and it was filmed with cameras mounted on that sled, and this way, so we can see our facial reactions and also forward. But there was only a limited amount of distance. The rest of it was then done with special effects and also with a miniature. They built a really long miniature and sent a camera into a little tunnel and get that effect of what it is like for someone like me that is being shot through that tunnel, what experience that is, having these things come up so fast and pull your skin back and all those things. It's a frightening moment. I mean, even in reality, going through it was very frightening.
How long would that last for you?
I would say around 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's about it, 10, 15 seconds. You travel a lot of distance in that period. It was much, much faster than any roller coaster that I have ever went through.
Pulling G-forces with
Oh,
you?
it's unbelievable. And it's scary because you know that if something happens, then, your history, because it's just too fast, the speed. But that happened a lot of times in Running Man because being followed by those wild vehicles, 6 feet behind you. I mean, there's no way this guy will be able to stop his car if I fall. And things like this happen. You fall, and the guy will run right over me with this wild teeth coming out, or this motorcycle jumping over this hill. You're standing right there where it lands, and you're supposed to just before it lands, jump away from that mark and make it look like you almost were hit. So all those things are, extremely dangerous. But you practice and rehearse and work it out with the stunt guys, and then sometimes it goes wrong and sometimes it goes right. So it's really a risky thing.
But fortunately, you're here to talk about it. That's the
right,
important
yes.
thing. Arnold, good to see you again. I always enjoy talking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Which, as we all know, he would go on to do some, more intimate, smaller movies, like Maggie, for instance, which to me is his best, acting. What do you all think?
Our next film is called The Running Man, and the man on the run in this film for his life is Arnold Schwarzenegger. The film is set in the 21st century, and Schwarzenegger, a former cop with a rebel past, finds himself a participant in the sickest part of this new totalitarian state. It's always lousy in the future in the movies. I guess that is an effort to make us feel good about paying, the $5 or $6 to see the film today, where it's so much fun. At any rate, in this future society, there is a violent game show where criminals are forced to run for their lives against powerful warriors who always make their kill. Schwarzenegger is eventually forced to compete, of course. The game show host is Richard Dawson from TV's Family Feud.
On your marks! Get set!
Killian, I'll be back.
Only in a rerun. Go!
Guess they want us to stay.
The romantic angle in the film involves Maria Conchita Alonso as a worker for the TV network who gets into her own fight for life after unknowingly helping Arnold.
You think I'm helping you out? Do they even think I'm your girlfriend?
You can straighten that out. See this camera up there? Can strangle you for the home audience.
Another relight. Where? It's right here. Lights.
What are you talking about?
Lights. Over here. Over here.
Yes, there certainly is a lot of action in this film, but it is redundant and turned me off. I mean, once you go down the tube, that's kind of neat. especially the way that makes the turn. But then over and over, it got a little boring. The killers are not all that spectacular, and this surprised me, particularly former football player turned actor Jim Brown. He's really boring as Fireball, a guy with a flamethrower, and that's all he's got, a flamethrower. And oh yeah, some spray paint in his hair. And yes, I'm afraid I'm getting tired even now of Arnold Schwarzenegger with his cute throwaway lines during unending fights. I was not excited by The Running Man.
I wasn't excited either. I agree with you that the villains were not really set up into really interesting individual characters, but they were just kind of like, you know, targets in an arcade game.
Yeah.
There is one element of this film that is excellent, and that is the entire backstage detail of the game show is hosted by Richard Dawson. And his performance is fascinating. He seems about half crocked all the time, always smoking that king-size cigarette, talking about his ratings. He's playing with human lives, and all he really cares about is the adulation of those faceless masses who cheer him on. And I think that that performance, if you took it out of the movie and just looked at it individually, is as interesting in its way as an indictment of television as Network was.
Well, I think that he is good in the film. Very well cast. He always had that sort of sinister side to him. Even when he kissed the ladies, we knew that he was sort of a little bit strange, or at least he knew he was being very manipulative. And so he is well cast, but the film does not work.
Whatever. What does he know? Jim Brown? Boring? I bet if Jim showed up in their studio with the flamethrower, he would not say he was boring then. Now, it is time to meet the stalkers. I thought it'd be fun to go and see the stalkers in their real-life pursuits. What do I mean by real life? Pro wrestling and lifting cars. Yep. This is Buzzsaw and Sub-Zero before The Running Man.
Now here's Gus Ruthwish. And you would have to think that our powerlift champions like Big Gus and also Don Reinhardt would have a good chance. Must lift the wheels up off the ground and establish a full locked position with those shoulders, arms, and legs. Gus will come over the top. He had that right one moving. Gus backing away. Let's see if he quits.
Take it easy. You got a minute left.
No, he was listening to Hal Connolly telling him there's still time. So he's going to stay with it. Notice how tightly those belts are around these lifters' waists. Got her shot. Come on, Gus. Come on, Gus. Couldn't quite do it. Look out. Somebody better get up there. I think he's blacking out. There's Hal Conley. There's Dr. Leroy Perry right there. They've got some oxygen here in the back.
Stay tuned. Now, here's your host, Brett Musburger.
Boris Gerassi, our next competitor. Gus is all right.
Tanaka, who is of Japanese ancestry, wrestles in an Oriental style.
You know, Mr. Bosch, every place in this whole world, all wrestlers claim they're very handsome, they're very powerful, they're very superstars. I'm just a small superstar. You know, I don't brag too much about my ways of living, of my ways of performing inside the ring. But when I was a young boy, my sensei speak to me, Tanaka-san, when you're inside ring, you give your spirit from within yourself. And that's why I perform inside ring with the devastating legal holds.
Always legal holds.
Always the legal holds, because small boy time, I learned to be very honorable. But here in the United States, everybody claims that Tanaka is one of the most vicious wrestlers from Japan. But you see, what makes me vicious is my honorable ways. And this is why I am very powerful in my own way.
And you are truthful.
I am very truthful, Mr. Bosch. I don't do nothing that would ridicule me. Now, many fans sit in crowd and say, you know, they're very tough man. They like attack wrestlers. many times I prove myself to this stupid fans try to attack us. They lie themselves in hospital. You know,
Truthful.
Yes, truthfully. I try to be very nice to everybody, but when Tanaka come provoked, then Tanaka must act.
Arigato. So you have heard him from
Arnold Schwarzenegger's back and framed for a crime. He'll either do hard time or prime time.
Perfect contestant. I want him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Running Man. When death is the game, you play for your life.
Drop dead!
I don't do requests. The Running Man, rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
It's the game show to end all game shows, The Running Man. Arnold Schwarzenegger runs for his life, literally. It's 2019 and game shows have taken over the networks. Now, contrast that with Arnold's own upbringing in the 1950s in Austria, when he didn't even know what game shows were. In fact, he barely even knew what a television was.
I did not grow up with television, no. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was 14 years old, and I grew up in a village that only had a population of 1,000 or so, which was outside of Graz. And the first television set came to this village when I was 14. And so we never had one in our home. This was a television set in a restaurant, and all the kids always went every Wednesday night to watch those kids' shows. You know, we were allowed to do that once a week, and that was it.
And yet a boyhood without conveniences like running water or luxuries like game shows may have helped Schwarzenegger in the long run. Can you imagine No Family Feud, Truth or Consequences, or Wheel of Fortune?
I grew up in an area where technology was not like it is today. We did not have flushing toilets, we did not have showers and stuff like that. The nearest fountain where you could get your water was about 200 yards away from the house, so my mother had to carry the water there, and when she washed clothes, she had to carry water pretty much like for a few hours to fill up the container and put fire underneath and then boil the clothes and all those things. So it was a much more primitive situation, but it was good for us kids because we learned to work, and there was much more struggle there.
Killian, I'll be back.
Only in a rerun.
I came to this country, and that's when I started watching game shows and saw how popular they are. Not only, you know, in the evenings, but all day long they had game shows here, and their ratings were always very high and so on. But it was never my cup of tea because I very rarely had time during the day to watch TV.
It's based on the premise of game shows of the future, and also may answer the question I've been wondering for a long time. Whatever happened to Richard Dawson?
Without further ado, it's time to start running! On your marks, get set!
Killian, I'll be back.
Run.
This movie is going to go through the roof. It's exactly what the people want. And so I feel good about it. It is my best work that I've ever done. It's the best film that I've ever been involved with. It's the fastest paced. It has the smartest story behind it. It has great action and all that. So I think the world of it. And I think that I just hope that I can follow and do another one of those kind of films.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger, a world champion Swiss bodybuilder, first came to Hollywood, he knew very little about acting and even less about making movies. But make them, he did. And after 10 years, he's become one of the hottest leading men in Hollywood.
Well, I had a vision when I got acting that I will be one day on top.
His movies fit a very simple formula. Round up some bad guys and let Arnold do the rest.
Knock, knock.
While his films do have very violent tendencies, they're all often funny. Many of the famous one-liners uttered by Schwarzenegger are his own.
Drop dead! I don't do requests.
What I do is, and what they let me do more and more, is be myself. I'm looking forward to the day where I do a straight comedy all the way through it, because I basically love to entertain people and to make them laugh and have a good time, and that's the best thing you can.
Schwarzenegger married TV anchorwoman Maria Shriver last year. He now balances his home life with a busy production schedule, daily workouts, and a number of very successful business ventures. That would be enough to drive a man crazy. But for Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's all his work. I'm Pam Thompson reporting.
Well, he would try his hand at comedy. Sometimes it worked well, Danny DeVito, twins, and sometimes it not that good. He's great in comedy when he's teamed with somebody like Danny DeVito, but when he's on his own, like Jingle All the Way, he doesn't quite come through as good as you hope. But I like Jingle All the Way. A lot of great stuff in it.
How about making The Running Man?
You know, that is, I should just bring it up all these movies from my past. I really have to, like, rack my brain. That was a funny scene, a very funny scene.
Yeah.
The dialogue they gave me, oh my God, it was a riot. But that was an experience where I got cast by one director and then showed up on the set, and it was another director, you know, who had replaced Paul Glacier.
Yeah.
Replaced
Starsky and Hutch.
And, yes, right.
Yeah.
And he had replaced the other director, so it was. But that was a very straightforward kind of, one day role that was really fun to shoot, and where I had some really funny dialogue.
Yeah. You're lucky he didn't kill you and rape you and then kill you and then rape you.
Rape you, right? Exactly. Thank you. I know. I should always like to have that dialogue, but I mean, people contact me all the time about that. I know, it's so wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very funny character. And he's puffing cigarettes, How often do you see, I've had to smoke a lot in a lot of the characters, and Strange Behaviors I smoked, and, and a lot of the movies that I've done, my character would be a smoker, so not anymore. They don't do that as much anymore today.
Well, there you have it, Volume 1. Like I said, there's so much I can do video after video of just The Running Man, but I figured 25, 30 minutes, that's good for a start. So I'll probably be doing more in the future. It depends on how well this video does. So if you love this video, watch it over and over again. Watch it like your life's dependent on it. So, if you are a huge fan of 1980s movies like me, then check out my channel, as I have interviews, behind the scenes footage, archives like this on Pacific movies. There's all kinds of good stuff from the 80s, and some commercials as well. Bit of nostalgia. I enjoyed having you watch this, and I hope and pray your day is great, and we'll see you later.